One of the things that I enjoyed about To Catch a Thief was it used all the places that I visited when I was younger, because I came over to this country when I was 10. So I was very, very young, but I still was able to remember all the places in the south of France.
My grandparents, along with my mom, would do a lot of traveling in the summer when my mom was very young, and one of the places that they always enjoyed going was the south of France. I think it was one of those places that they always loved, and that was why it was so strong in the movie.
Oh, lovely day. Have you ever seen any place in the world more beautiful?
I think my grandfather had a deep affection for the French, and the French in turn for him. They truly appreciated his work, even as an auteur director as opposed to just a commercial director. And I think it's something that there was a good admiration for both. I think on To Catch a Thief there is a lot of the sort of, quote, screwball comedy, and I think that it's there for the simple reason that he had such a wonderful sense of humor and such a dry wit that a lot of himself is brought into this film.
He had a great sense of humor. He liked to bring the humor into the movies as much as he can, especially his type of movie, which is suspense. You have got to give the audience time to relax before you build up to the next suspenseful part in the movie.
Where is he?
Who? John Roby.
Never heard of him.
I don't think people know how really funny he was in real life to us, to his friends. His friends knew it, his family knew it because it was part of his personality. He had a wonderful dry sense of humor. He played many jokes on his friends, especially in the earlier days. He was always doing word games with my sisters and I, and we would have to figure out what a certain phrase meant. There was a completely different person away from the camera, a wonderful person.
Hitchcock liked to tell stories, and there is one story. A little girl and a little boy were sitting on the sidewalk, and the little girl was very shy, and the little boy asked her, "What's your name?" "It's something which sticks on the wall." And the little boy said, "Shit!" So she said, "No, ivy." It was his favorite story to make us laugh.
On this particular film, To Catch a Thief, you have my grandfather's real hatred of eggs evident when you have the egg being thrown and you have the woman putting out the cigarette into the fried egg, which my grandfather absolutely hated fried eggs.
My father had a lot of food fetishes, I think one would say. He loved soufflés and things like that, but he did not like cutting an egg open and seeing the yolk run.
He was a gourmet, and food was important to him, and family celebrations were around food. And I remember him telling me at different times, he and my grandmother, how Grace and Rainier would come over for dinner when they were visiting in Los Angeles, and they would sit in the kitchen and have a lovely meal. And I used to think, boy, the four of them are just sitting in the kitchen having dinner. But, you know, the greatest conversations and a lot of problem solving was done sitting around the dinner table.
The first time I saw you was on the beach at Cary. You swam ashore from a motorboat driven by that little French girl.
You got an opener? Thank you.
You want a leg or a breast?
You make the choice.
There was a lot of scenes and shots that were made that I thought were really ahead of his time and held up still so well today. The double entendre things that were said to each other.
I'll bet you told her all your trees were sequoias.
He's a low, worthless thief. Just what did he steal from you?
What you need is something I have neither the time nor the inclination to give you.
Oh? And just what is that?
2 weeks with a good man at Niagara Falls.
The way that the one scene with Cary Grant where you just see the shot of the necklace, you don't see Grace's face, and then the way of telling the story. He did so many things back such a long time ago that still hold up in movie making today. I remember my grandfather always speaking so fondly of his movies with us. I actually ended up taking a class in college because I was so interested in seeing his early films, and then I would go back to him on the weekends. And that's when I really got into discussing his movies with him, because I would ask him certain things that were said in the class and if they were true or not. Some of the questions he would just roll his eyes, and I would say, well, did you mean this in this scene? Because this is what we were taught on Tuesday night. He said, no, where do they think of these things? So I learned a lot in the class, but I learned more from him on those Sundays after the class. At midterm time, we had to write a paper on Hitchcock's favorite film. So I went to him. I knew Shadow of a Doubt was his favorite film. So he helped me write the paper, and I handed the paper in, and I got the paper back, and I only got a C on the paper. And at the top of the paper was written, I did not elaborate enough on this paper. So I went to my grandfather and I said, Grandpa, we got a C on this paper. And he said, well, I'm sorry, that's the best I can do. I think people would be very surprised to know that besides the professional side of my grandfather and the wonderful, extraordinary filmmaker that he was just a wonderful man, a man who treated his family, his wife, his friends with respect, who had a huge heart. He was always there for them, always there for his family, adored his wife and his daughter, his grandchildren. And because of that, he will be remembered not just because of being a wonderful filmmaker, but a wonderful man.